From mid-September through to mid-October, the speckled trout, also referred to as the brook trout, congregate in rocky shoals of streams and brooks to spawn. The brook trout is a member of the salmon family. This particular trout can be found in small streams, just as this one, and can also be found in creeks, ponds, and lakes. They can be found in many areas of eastern North America. This female will ready her nest called a red by flailing her tail. This resolves two things for her. First, she will rid the nest area of sediments and debris, and second, supply much needed oxygen for her eggs. When the time comes, the female will accept a suitor, and will only deem him worthy of fertilizing her eggs. The male trout is notably larger, and during spawning season will portray much brighter colors, particularly red to orange on his belly. In this stream at times, I noted the presence of up to as many as 30 trout, the majority of which was male. When the female is ready to spawn and has selected her mate, the remaining male may try to infiltrate at the time she lays her eggs, in an effort to pass on his DNA to future generations. But the male spouse will defend his right and will vigorously fend off any challengers. As you are aware, trout breathe through their gills. The gills also filter out carbon dioxide into the water, much as the same as we do while we breathe. The gills are positioned along the throat, covered by a flap of bony tissue, known as the operculum. As the fish suck water into its mouth, the gill flaps open. The water then will flow over the gills. Oxygen from the water is extracted via the tiny capillary blood vessels in the gills. Concurrently, carbon dioxides are pumped into the water as the trout closes its mouth. These speckles are already showing signs of aggression as they volley to impress the female. We will see later just how aggressive they can become. The speckled brook trout has many distinctive markings. Their backs have yellow wavy lines. These lines are also present on the dorsal fin and the tail fin. The lower fins portray a white line followed by a black line and a mixed red color. In the midsection, visible are dark fingerprint-like impressions that have yellow spots within. Also throughout the midsection are tiny blue spots with smaller red spots within. More yellow spots are noted all over. Having no ear canals on the outside of its head does not mean that the trout cannot hear. It in fact has an inner ear that can receive sounds. Like most fish, it also has a lateral line, seen as a fine line down through the midsection. This line can sense vibrations and movements. The lateral line runs from the inner ear along the length of both sides of the body, just under its scales. The excitement seems to be building as the trout are becoming more and more territorial, so much so that they show no regard for my camera. Within this flurry of fish, the female attempt to lay their eggs, but with all of the commotion, they may find it hard to achieve that very task. While trying to ignore all of the activity about her, she will mold her red with her belly and lay her eggs. In this scene it becomes quite apparent who is the male suitor, as he will fend off anyone who approaches the female. The female has chosen to place her red underneath a branch protruding from the remnants of an old beaver dam. The male without a mate will stand back until he sees a chance to rush the red in an attempt to make an unwarranted fertilization of the eggs. But as it is in all species on this planet, the dominant one usually prevails and will not relent. Strangely enough, in this scenario, if you have not noticed, there seems to be another female hanging about the red. While the male rejects her, he is somewhat more tolerant of her than other males. The female seems somewhat tolerant as well. Perhaps she is somewhat of a wet nurse, or maybe she is making claims on the red and the male that accompanies it. Here she appears to be protective of her and charges the camera, or rather her own reflection in the lens. Here, the spawning female shows her discontent in having the second female around her red. As persistent as the male and female are to rid the infiltrators, they just keep coming back. The desire to spawn must overwhelm the bites of the defenders. The trout will have no problem sensing another nearby, or seeing a foe upon approach. They have near perfect close-up vision, but a not so good long-range view. For distant vision though, the trout will actually see better the deeper it is in the water, as his viewing parameters extend from side to side as it looks up higher, which means it can see clearly at wider angles as it looks up. There are some restrictions though. The trout can see from the front and sides and just about all the way behind. Their blind spots are just behind and directly below, upward and to the front. What you may or may not know is that the trout have the ability to differentiate between colors, whereas it can see some colors better than others. It is said that they react best to red and green colors as a food factor, for example. Although in my experience angling, I have found that a purple fly is found to be very attractive to the fish. This female once again is puzzled by her own reflection, which could indicate a clear, near-sighted vision. Also, it brings to question as to how clear the trout can see directly forward. Also, here you may note that the trout has two small nostrils. They do not breathe through the nose, but have great scent sensories. Lately, scientists have discovered that cells in the trout's nose are attracted to magnets, which would indicate that a sense of direction also comes from the nose. Otherwise, the trout has a great sense of smell, so much so that the migrating trout can smell its way back to its stream where it was born, as it remembers the scents from the stream. It appears here once again a sense of concern on the part of the second female, as she tries to encourage her to refrain from pending danger. As the female tends to her nest, she once again sweeps the area clean of silt and debris, and delivers fresh oxygen to her now fertilized eggs. The rival male, meantime, still is trying to infiltrate the red, but the male spouse is still on the defense in his efforts to maintain his bloodline. Ever protective of their nest, both the male and female will defend it, and will try and ensure there is no compromise. As such, no other is welcome. The female reacts quickly as another tries to make an entrance via the beaver dam. Apparently, marauding trout are coming out of the woodwork, but this lady will have none of that. Getting quite miffed about it all, she sends one intruder up over the dam. It's not too long, though, before she reappears. Then she returns to give the area another sweep. Trout are quite fast when need be. They can travel from a standing position to an accelerated speed of 37 kilometers per hour in 1 second. In a fish's world, it will travel about 33 feet a second. Make no wonder why you have an instant bend in your fishing pole when you hook one. Here now a second male has entered the red, and with a quiver of his tail he has ejected his sperm. The response from the female spouse is swift. So agitated by the occurrence, he becomes sensitive to his surroundings and has taken his aggravation out on the overhanging branch. You may wonder if he has lost a tooth or two. Not likely, but if he should at some point, it would not be a problem. Nature has supplied him with the ability to grow them back. The trout has a bladder in its back referred to as a swim bladder. It helps the trout float. The more air in the bladder, the more buoyant it is. If a fish desires to swim deeper, it may burp some air out so that it can descend easily. This trout seems to be yawning. Whether she is or not is not known. Some tend to believe that it is just stretching its jaws. The eggs now within the red will incubate within 100 days, depending on the temperature of the water. The baby trout at this point are called alevins. The alevins live on the egg sac until it is absorbed. After leaving the red, they are called fry. The fry has an uphill battle to maturity, as it must survive temperature and predator before it becomes a mature trout. After a couple of years, these new trout will return to this same stream and begin the cycle over again. During this process I have learned a lot about the brook trout and the life that they bring to this brook. I hope to check back again next year to see if they once again will spawn in this stream. At this point I will leave you, but over the next few minutes, enjoy some more serene moments with the speckled trout. This is Dennis Smeaton. I hope you have enjoyed my little interaction with this wonderful species.